we are on the verge of becoming an imperial power. I do believe that.
Okay, imperial power.
Oh, imperial power. See, a country of this size, with this geographical significance, cannot remain silent. It is just not possible. You look at it in the history itself. Why did the Turkeys and the Persians and the Arabs covet India? Why did the Prophet write about conquest of Hind? Why did Britishers spend an enormous amount of time, effort in defending the crown jewel? In fact, I would honestly say in 1940s, I'm sure Chinese are the first persons who realized this. A country of this stature, when it is peaceful, we will have trouble. The maritime power, the maritime projection that India can do, no other country can do. Indian Ocean it is, truly. And there are no debates on whether it should be called some other ocean. There is no debate on it. And India has always been imperial. We decided in Central Asia who rules what.
Oh, I did not know this part of history.
Seleucus Nicator, after the Alexander's death,
Okay.
tried to fight with Chandragupta Maurya, lost it, gave his daughter, took 500 elephants and went.
Yeah, that is correct. So, but that was for a brief period under the Mauryas, right?
Exactly. That's because the Maurya bureaucracy collapsed. Because the story is like this. As Chanakya beautifully says, to be successful, every institution should have two components, the king and the minister. They are like two wheels of the chariot of government.
Okay.
Where was another Chanakya? A country of this magnitude not only requires Samudragupta or Chandragupta, it also requires an equally competent Chanakya.
Chanakya. Namaste, welcome to another edition of my podcasts on Sangam Talks. I have Sai Krishna ji. Today I met him at Rishihood University, and incidentally we were having an internal discussion and we thought of him, and there he was in Delhi. So within 30 minutes of speaking, he's here at office and we are doing this recording. Why we were thinking of him is because we are trying to make a film on India in 2047, which means that what should be the aspirational India in 2047? What does a decolonized India look like in 2047? And Sai Krishna ji and I attended his lecture at Rishihood, and it was fabulous. The ideas on reforming bureaucracy were just amazing. So we're hoping to, however far he can go with talking about bureaucracy and reform and perhaps other aspects of in India in 2047.
Thank you, Rahul ji. So I'm very happy to share whatever little I have observed, both as a participant observer, an insider inside the bureaucracy, and also a continuous student of our Indian culture and our traditions. In fact, the more and more I engage with India, be it through the bureaucracy or outside the bureaucracy, the more and more fascinated I become. Now, coming back to our main area of interest, I think that perhaps in 1947, our society and our culture was very bruised. We are still remembering the memories of partition, and I think the nation building activity, which was interrupted probably after the not so successful tenure after the Shankaracharya's creation of, I would say Shankaracharya rather did the early nation building activity.
Okay.
Because he tried to connect important sacred places, kingdoms, and everything, and try to create.
Sure.
That activity was interrupted with invasions. So now that activity again was interrupted by the Britishers, and thanks to the national reconnaissance and culture, it recovered, and I think we have a much clearer idea of India, I would say probably in the 1800s or late 1800s or early 1900s, than we all had collectively shared before.
Is it?
Even though,
why do you say so?
Because see, it is a concept that we have understood intuitively, but it is also important that a culture represents it publicly, so that the next generations and the generations after that absorb it and assimilate it. Now, with the destruction of great places like Kasi, Takshila, and Nalanda, people in the south had no longer reason to travel to north except for religious offerings. So that constant idea of fusion of ideas, that slowly started losing the weight.
Okay.
Now with connectivity, railways and government jobs, creations and all that, again we started slowly interacting. And I would say cleverly, we also have figured out how to do business with the British or how to do business with British around us. That was another wave of slow reconnaissance that we have seen in India. Now, subsequently, I would say in 1947, maybe it was not a great idea to relook at bureaucracy. But I would definitely think 2047 must be very different.
Okay, maybe now must be the time so
Yes.
that we have it.
Yeah, so that
before
we land it correctly by 2047.
27.
In fact, you could also very clearly see change in the role of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy in 1947 was a straight continuation of British bureaucracy.
That is correct.
In the famous words of Sardar Patel, it is neither Indian nor civil and never a service.
Oh, wow.
So he famously said about Indian civil service, it is not Indian, because largely manned by the Britishers and the Europeans. Definitely not civil, because it was designed largely as a military unit.
Okay.
In fact, the very definition of civil is not military. Civil doesn't really have any definition in civil service. And definitely not a service, because they were the ruling class. So from that point till today, I think we have made a tremendous amount of progress. And for good or bad, I think a lot of credit must also go to our political class.
Okay.
The Indian political class, very pragmatic, very rooted. So they have held, I would say, a tremendous story in building the story of India.
How has it changed? How has the bureaucracy changed? I mean, you also said that we've inherited that from the British in 1947. How has it changed since then?
So originally, because the country, or rather our leadership, our elite leadership, was of the opinion that the Indian masses and the Indian political class were not qualified to understand the emerging requirements of a world that we currently find ourselves in. Let me elaborate this a bit. So let's say the 1947 India was an India which believed in technology, or rather the world believed in technology, or the dominance of science, modern institutions, industrial revolution. The wave was like very strong. And when they looked at India, they could not find a class which can absorb these ideals and push the transformation of India into that path.
Okay.
So this is where you see icons like Homi Baba.
Okay.
And several other in that line came into being. Now, how do you manage funds for them? Now, our political system was also very conservative. Our Indian local political leaders, village panchayat presidents, they always saw them with suspicion. The panchayats and the local level leadership was seen by the Indian elite at that point in era as a regressive force rather than a progressive reforming or transforming
By the people?
force. No, the leadership of India at that time.
The leadership of India saw the panchayat and the local leadership
as a regressive force.
As a regressive force. Okay.
Exactly. So when you draw this comparison, the Indian bureaucracy comes across automatically as a progressive, stabilizing, modernizing force.
Okay.
So that is how even the Indian political leadership at the top indirectly enforced a highly centralized regime in India.
Okay.
It could be because of the inspiration from the Fabian socialism of Jawaharlal Nehru, or it could be any other reason. But this process has led to bureaucracy expanding its mandate significantly. In fact, the bureaucracy started doing developmental activities which there was no precedent before. The bureaucracy was never designed to do developmental activities.
Like what?
Like, for example, digging canals, distributing pensions, supervising education system, supervising healthcare. The bureaucracy that the Britishers have given us doesn't have this in its soul.
Okay.
So, but look at it. Now, these are to be ideally delivered, managed
Wasn't the bureaucracy, for example, for good or bad, whatever the reasons were, weren't they responsible for laying the railway lines under the British, for example? So, isn't the building
not really,
of canals?
frankly, not really. So most of the railroads were driven by British companies, which were given a charter to do. It's like, think about it. Now you have a telecom tower located in your village.
Okay.
It's not government who's laying it. It's Airtel which is laying it, or whoever company it is, Jio. They are doing it on their own. But they are operating under a license.
And so, what was the role of bureaucracy under the British? Collection of money?
It was police state. It was a police state. The mandate was to maintain law and order, extract revenue, and transfer the revenue back to the British masters.
So essentially extract revenue and maintain law and order so that the revenue can be extracted.
Absolutely.
Those two objectives.
Even the defense objective was not to defend India, was to prevent the Russian influence
or whatever
into Indian territory.
Correct. So that they couldn't.
Exactly. So they were really, the structure that was designed at that point in time was primarily designed for law and order.
Got it.
And efficient revenue collection.
So you're saying the bureaucracy in the independent India got into developmental activities and their role was expanding into supervising healthcare, while this, in your view, should not have been the case?
Actually, frankly, at that point in time, maybe we could have done it slightly differently.
Okay.
But I would give benefit of doubt to Jawaharlal Nehru at that point in time, because he saw that the Indian political institutions, they were still very regressive in his assessment.
Yeah.
And he
correct.
said, let's do it with the bureaucracy.
So that was his weapon for reforming and modernizing
Yeah,
India.
it was a larger call that they made at that point in
Fair
time.
enough.
Let's trust them. The point is, when it was not working out, it was pretty straightforward in 1960s and 70s. Everybody knew it was not working out. We still took 20 years to come back.
But sorry, just to stay here, that you said they got into developmental activities, supervising healthcare, building canals, for example. Isn't that supposed to be Nehru and the bureaucracy structure, by putting in place such a structure, was actually using them to do these developmental activities. So why are you saying that their role got expanded?
Okay, it's a standard centralization, decentralization demo. Now think about it like this. You're a small village in UP. Okay, who gets to decide what you want?
Yes.
Who's right? Who's more suited to decide what you want? Is it Delhi or is it you? Think about it. Even is it Lucknow supposed to decide, or you supposed to decide? Now there are certain things, like you want to build a big canal from
on a river, which
on
is
a river
national
to
level
benefit everybody.
Correct.
Let Delhi decide.
Got it.
Then you execute it. So this balance is completely tilted in the favor of centralization and the lack of bureaucracy. That is why our central planning model failed. Because it was devoid of any understanding of grassroots expectations. And what is even more worrying is the police state that the British created is not tuned to listen to a citizen.
Expand on this.
Let's say, think about this. Even today, how many of us feel like walking into a police station to have a chat with the police guy? Nobody.
We don't even want the police guy to show up or
exactly. Even if a police guy just stares at you, you feel very concerned.
Yes.
Where is this fear coming in from?
Yeah.
Ideally, he's supposed to be the guy to protect you, is it not?
Yes.
But why is it that we have a scare? Completely scared. You get a notice from revenue department.
Yeah.
The local revenue officer wants to talk to you.
Yes. Scared.
You will have a chill down your spine.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is what the Britishers have created over the last 200, 300 years. This terror they have created. Because of course they're supposed to control us, govern us, squeeze everything out of. Now how can that institution provide comfort, care? So these are the major dilemma. So they made a call at that point in time saying, okay, I do not have any other institution I can depend on to deliver modernization. Thankfully, we are lucky. Pakistan was not this lucky. In Pakistan, it was army. And Indian politicians were very clever and very pragmatic. So they kept on increasing the mandate of the bureaucracy, but they also kept on tightening administrative control over the bureaucracy.
Say more on this. Administrative control.
Like for example, the ministers gradually, when in 1947 or 1950s too, collectors used to operate effectively independently.
Okay.
Today, not the case.
Got it.
The collector is supervised very strictly by a guardian minister.
What particular guardian minister?
Okay, now most of the political parties today, they appoint one minister as in charge of a district. And most likely that minister would not be from that district, in and around.
Okay.
So just to keep watch on what's happening in the district. Talk to the political cadre, understand their expectations, requirements. Are the delivery of development is happening or not? Of course, they will have their narrow agenda too. I'm not denying that. But point is, there is an effective check on the uninterrupted power, that the collectors used to possess. It's no longer the case. 1980s were very different.
What is the consequence of them exercising unchecked power? You get a transfer at maximum.
Yes, so that's why.
But still, that's a check.
So see, we have a simple rule in bureaucracy. The subordinate's autonomy actually belongs to the superior.
Subordinate's autonomy belongs to the superior.
A subordinate cannot exercise its autonomy in reality.
Yes.
It is a superior who will exercise autonomy.
Okay.
And subordinate will be responsible for it.
Okay.
Now, that's actually happening in India today. Now, district collector, frankly, cannot exercise autonomy.
Okay.
But the law provides him his autonomy. Now, that autonomy is exercised actually by the political bosses. There are some problems within this model, no doubt about it. Like, for example, who are the beneficiaries? Now, there are 10,000 beneficiaries. Now, money is not available for all 10,000. Now, the department will pay in 3,000 tranches. Which 3,000 will get it first?
So the district collector decides.
He has it.
He has the autonomy to decide this, but he doesn't get to decide it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying the district collector is ideally supposed to randomly sort or first in, first out, whatever model.
Right.
He has the autonomy to do this.
But
because
really,
the government
in practically doesn't, because
in reality, obviously the priority is set by
the
the guardian minister. Guardian minister says, yeah, do it for our boys first. Now you see, technically, if later someone can come and say, the item number 2999, this guy applied the last, but why is he cleared first? What would the district collector answer?
You're reminding me of the Amazon series Panchayat, where the village east side gets everything while the west side, because of the local MLA or something.
Yeah. So now, frankly speaking, this is also one of the aspects of democracy. We may not be comfortable. That's why, we say democracy is not the best system. It is best among the worst options. But whatever it is, now you see there is an effective check on a bureaucrat's power.
Sure. Okay.
And we have active think tanks. Now the Indian political parties, all of them have a very active public policy wings. So they also keep a real tight watch, and things like technology like Twitter, other things, they have made considerable amount of change too. So the bureaucracy in India has significantly been tamed or governed by the political classes, not only one section or the section, yes. So now the point is, now even the bureaucracy agrees that these structures are no longer relevant.
Which structures?
Like, for example, the example we took. Now the 10,000 list.
Okay.
What ideally should be done? I'm telling you, if you go and speak to any collector in this example, he would happily surrender autonomy. He will say, let the computer pick.
Good.
Is it not in his interest? Because his autonomy will always be misused by the local minister or someone sitting in the capital city. Because the autonomy was given in an era where there was no connectivity. There is no visibility. And don't forget, he is a district collector. His fundamental job was to collect revenue. So in the GFR rules that we talk about, financial rules, all of them were designed for this. And even the bureaucracy in India would happily come and say, clearly define my role, explain why I need autonomy and how I can exercise it, and please let me do it.
They would happily say this, right?
They would happily say this.
Because they want this reform. They don't want the burden of, because I mean, if they decide something and politicians change, they get screwed in the process.
Absolutely. Always. So if you look at a bureaucrat today, a good bureaucrat today, every day he's piling risk. And the day power changes, he's gone. Because he has no option, right? He can't leave his job.
और हम सब सिर्फ गाली bureaucrat को देते हैं.
Which in my way is very unfair, frankly. Because poor thing, he's struggling to fit things together. Like, aap dekho na, in one decision, he has to manage how many people? He has to see justice is done. He has to ensure that he is not implicated in anything. He has to keep the political bosses happy. He has to ensure the administrative processes are complied with. He has to nudge his subordinates all the time. Arey yaar, Sunday, please come and work for me. Let's get this done. Now that fellow is thinking, why should I come on Sunday? Now what option do you have? Can you fire him? You can't fire him. Can you give him a reward? Can you give him a hike? You can't give him a hike. What can you do? So being a bureaucrat today is really a very difficult job. And I'm telling you, I think now is the right time for us to start imagining again on how a bureaucrat, or how a role of bureaucracy in our society should be. And I'm also drawing this point because we are on the verge of becoming an imperial power. I do believe that.
Okay. Imperial power.
Oh, imperial power. See, a country of this size, with this geographical significance, cannot remain silent. It is just not possible. You look at it in the history itself. Why did the Turkeys and the Persians and the Arabs covet India? Why did the Prophet write about conquest of Hind? Why did Britishers spend an enormous amount of time, effort in defending the crown jewel? In fact, I would honestly say in 1940s, I'm sure Chinese are the first persons who realized this. A country of this stature, when it is peaceful, we will have trouble.
When it is peaceful, we will have trouble.
We will have trouble.
Because we'll be an imperial power. Wow.
And imagine it, the maritime power, the maritime projection that India can do, no other country can do. Indian Ocean it is, truly. And there are no debates on whether it should be called some other ocean. There is no debate on it. There's a reason why. And India has always been imperial.
Yeah.
Whenever I'll give a simple example. Look at the Magadhan Empire. The upper half of India was under the control of one ruling dynasty. We decided in Central Asia who rules what.
Oh, I did not know this part
Yeah.
of history.
Seleucus Nicator, after the Alexander's death,
Okay.
tried to fight with Chandragupta Maurya, lost it, gave his daughter, took 500 elephants and went.
Yeah, that is correct. So, but that was for a brief period under the Mauryas, right?
Exactly, that's because the Maurya bureaucracy collapsed.
After the Mauryan bureaucracy collapsed.
Mauryan bureaucracy collapsed because the story is like this. As Chanakya beautifully says, to be successful, every institution should have two components, the king and the minister. They are like two wheels of the chariot of government.
Okay.
Where was another Chanakya? A country of this magnitude not only requires Samudragupta or Chandragupta, it also requires an equally competent Chanakya.
Okay.
So we have to develop both. Same story I would find even in Rajputana. Look at the Rajputana. We have great kings. Where are the great ministers? So we undermine the component of...
You're talking about ministers here who are administering, or you're talking about the Rajguru here as Chanakya?
Rajguru stories. Chanakya was not
Chanakya-
Rajguru. Chanakya was prime minister. Rajguru's job is to convince the population that he is legitimate ruler. He follows all that is required according to our culture and civilization and dharma. He follows. But administering a country is not a function of how do I put it, courageous you are. No, it's not. It's a function of several other things. So that institution, what I'm calling as minister here is that setup, a bureaucracy, a traditional or not even non-traditional process of collecting information, assimilating decisions, generating options, and then asking the king to choose. Any culture which ignores this process is doomed. Think about it.
Side question: is this where the Greek Roman Council comes in?
Yes,
Council of
yes.
Ministers. That's where.
Even our Council of Ministers, all the ministers, this is very, very important part. This is the government. This is how you govern your kingdom. You can conquer very fast. You can control it. And you can control it efficiently. So this is what Arthashastra was about, which is why in our thinking it was
What's
not...
the parallel system at this point in time? So the king is equivalent to the prime minister right now, which is a swap.
No. Prime Minister is the king. Yeah, you're right about that. Prime Minister is actually
And
the
the
king.
bureaucracy is the ministers, if you like.
Yes, the bureaucracy, I would say not the bureaucracy, the people whom the king appoints to coordinate with bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is just a process, it's an instrument.
Okay.
It's an instrument to collect the opinions of the public.
So who does the
filter
prime
it.
minister appoints at this point?
Yeah, ministers. The ministers are the ministers.
So the ministers you're saying are the...
Yeah.
Okay,
But what
so
happens
just
is,
to
you
draw
know...
an equivalence with the
yeah,
Chanakyan state.
exactly. In a political scenario, unfortunately, that is why I do believe there is a very interesting thing that's happening in India. Today, all the ministers in a parliamentary system want to be the kings.
Okay, yes,
Kings, so they think themselves as their kings of their own departments.
that's correct.
Whereas in reality, what's happening in India, I would call it a silent amendment that we have done. We have a presidential style of democracy, functioning very efficiently within a so-called parliamentary system designed by Constitution. Today, most of the ministers technically function like American-style secretaries,
Okay.
strongly inspired, strongly guided by the Prime Minister's office and Prime Minister's guidance.
President.
So
Acting like
that is, I think, a good model. So then you have a Raja and a group of ministers who have the competence to understand how to deal with bureaucracy, how to get things done from bureaucracy. Because they need an agenda. Now the king, who in our example, let's say Priyam, gives an agenda. This is my agenda for your department. You build so many roads. Now we have a great minister like Nitin Gadkari who understands it really well. And he knows how to get it done through bureaucracy. That's the job of a great minister. I would say, I think maybe Nitin Gadkari is a great example.
Yeah, it deviates us from our conversation, but this is interesting, right? I mean, you're drawing parallels between what the Prime Minister is right now, at least in the last 10, 11 years, very presidential style of president, very monarch-like.
Oh, I don't mean that.
You don't.
Not monarch-like.
Okay.
I'm saying the division of work is efficient. Now, in a parliamentary style of democracy, division of work is done. PM is just first among equals.
I get that, but go back to your comment about the Chanakyan state. And so what failed? The kingship changed, but there was no ministers, you said. So which means there was no Chanakya, which means there wasn't what?
There wasn't a process to select the ministers and maintain it.
So that the bureaucracy could go on with or without the king in place.
That's exactly why.
So we have it now?
Yes, that's exactly what the legend Sardar Patel said. This is a steel frame, let's keep it. Today, you can comment on outcomes of bureaucracy, but you cannot comment on the qualifications of people in bureaucracy. They go through a very competitive struggle to go there. But how you use them is our society's problem. Are we using them wisely? Are we getting the society's best possible utility from them? That is something that we must contemplate about. When you meet a young guy who just cleared service, you meet him and talk to him. There may be few rotten examples. I don't think, let's not talk about minority, let's talk about the majority. Most of them sacrificed whatever they have earned because they are genuinely motivated to serve their country. Now, what do we make out of them is our collective problem. So we have figured out how to get the best people for these roles. Now, how do we groom them, develop them in a way that this strong ministerial structure can empower a great king, a rise of a great king and a great empire? And that's something we need to figure out.
And your answer to this is the reform answer, which means where do we need to go? For example, you pointed to the autonomy that a district collector.
Yeah, see, this is a very complex matter, and I think we need a much larger debate and discussion.
Absolutely.
But that being said, I will humbly place in front of not only you and your viewers, whatever I think.
Yes.
I will tell you, first of all, the Indian system. See, we are generally very averse to complete reform. We want to do it incremental for the right reasons. As a wise civilization, we understand that very well. Yes. How to change gear slowly, not from 0 to 5.
Yes. We are not about a revolution. We are
about a gradual incremental reform.
Absolutely.
But we are also impatient when it comes to
somebody, a person called Jerry Rao. He was the founder and chairman of Emphasis, Jaytirath Rao. He gave a lecture on the Indian conservative on Sangam Talks, and he told me this outside the conversation, and also that we are people who are not about a revolution. We are about slow change, and that is how he defines the Indian conservative.
Absolutely, and I think this is also true with the Chinese.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the reason why the Chinese society, despite the oppressive regime, it never revolts. We are very careful and thorough culturally as a group, not individually. Now, when you talk about this, now let us take the office of the district collector or any other organization. Now, let us say that the district collector, because he is in the district, he interacts with all the political setups. He understands what's wrong or right with the district very effectively. And he has an infrastructure to collect information, disseminate information. Correct? Now, what is it that he can do? Today, he can't do anything.
What do you mean?
Yeah, he can't do anything.
District collector, the DM are kings of their places.
So don't forget it. His autonomy is at the mercy of?
At the mercy
of his bosses.
That is correct.
Now, shouldn't that be the case? Now, what is the role of a local Panchayat president and local JP CEO? He comes and goes. What about the district collector? He remains. Or his institution remains. The person may change, institution remains.
Correct.
The institution is a witness to everything that's happening in the past and in the future.
Correct.
So this institution must deliver continuity.
Correct.
That is the expectation from that institution.
Yes.
Now, the Britishers designed it to deliver continuity of operation and extraction.
Correct.
Now, we have to reform it to deliver governance.
And service.
Yes, service. The governance includes everything.
Governance, okay.
Now, how do we reimagine it? We need to bring a slight amount of change. I would say the first thing that we must contemplate is how Indian bureaucracy deals with communities, deals with private sector. Because the Indian bureaucracy traditionally ignores private sector.
Correct.
That's because the Britishers have destroyed Indian private sector. So there was no private sector to deal with.
So we did not inherit any legacy of that.
No, we're a police institution. Your job is to extract money from the private sector. That's all we have done. Hence, this whole negative vibe about tax terrorism and all that. Because that's what Britishers have designed as a process. So when Indian civil services creates next batch and next batch, they also slowly reproduce the same ethos. Significantly different now. But this is the primary ethos is to be suspicious about Indian businesses. Think like they are chori kar rahe. Don't do it. So that ethos slowly is getting eroded away. They are now more proactive and want to engage with private sector. Can they engage?
Can they engage?
That's the
Wow.
first question.
I mean, I don't know what engagement means, but from my limited experience of the companies that I know of, for example, as little as, with the Operation Sindoor, the army's ability to procure, for example, is totally messed up, as I understand, and because it runs through the bureaucracy. And so everybody is scared about touching anything so that because they should not get blamed for commissions and all of that.
Absolutely, that's the GFR. So point is, there is unnecessary regulation. There is no right regulation. There is excessive regulation, and people advocate no regulation. So what we really need is right regulation. There's a path in the middle. Now you can't randomly go and buy something from someone at a price that he quotes. Because you are spending public's money. There must be certain checks and balances. Now those checks and balances don't have to travel to Delhi. You should have flexibility to declare it among yourselves. Now I will tell you very honestly, this government has done significant work in that. So earlier, anything less than 25,000, I can buy on my own.
Okay.
Anything above that, I have to get 3 quotations. Okay. They have enhanced it to 2.5 lakh.
Wow. Okay.
Then they created GEM now, Government E-Marketplace, where you can simply go and buy.
Yeah.
See, these are the measures which have really pushed a lot of business towards the private sector. That money from government is again spent in the local, created a huge economic wave. Same with defense. Now, defense engages with private sector through multiple institutions. And I'm telling you honestly, if you are disappointed with what you think defense has done in the last Sindoor, I'm telling you what they have done is 10 years before, it was just not possible.
Oh yeah, that I get, absolutely.
Today, I also work in defense. I'm telling you very frankly, I am chased by my customers. I don't have to chase them. They ask me, we have a new problem. Can you do it? Tell me. They're also asking parallel 10 others. But this reaching out is seeing for the first time. Now, same type of reaching out is what I would like to see at a DC office. Now, DC should be able to reach out to private sector and say, we have these 5 things to be done. Can you do it best? Why should I go to CPWD or state PWD?
Or even taking that example further, why should the DC decide that? Should the Panchayat perhaps not decide that?
Yes, Panchayat will decide ki I want to build this. Now, is it done the best?
Is it done the best? So
it's a technical work.
Panchayat perhaps, okay, technical.
It's technical work. Let's say you're saying I want to ensure that, let's say 500 of my students or my engineers who are graduating, no jobs, are to be trained.
Right.
Panchayat can say that much. Yes. I want 5,000 jobs or 500 jobs created in my, let's say 50 jobs created.
Whatever, absolutely.
Now, executing that vision requires a skill of technology, understanding environment, understanding a process, and getting it done. This is what bureaucracy is supposed to be. Now, and they also need flexibility to do this. Can a district collector fund a small group of 5 or 6 students who are really good? Ask them, you create your own company, I will give you 5-year contract, deliver value here. Because as long as he's delivering value, do you think Panchayat has a problem? This is such a small matter. Can't you trust a district collector to this? Even if he's paying 2 lakh rupees a month to those 5-6 boys, is it a big thing? Should you not allow him to do it? And after all, he's doing everything under the watch of the Panchayat. Na? And in the end, Panchayat is able to see, is the outcome coming the way they like it or not?
And that would be the separation of power in some sense?
Yes, it is separation of powers. It is clear.
So the requirements are not coming from the district collector, which is akin to, say, Delhi, for example, even for that region. The Panchayat is actually calling the shots on what do we need to service the community here.
Correct.
And DC is the executor, assuming there is something which requires more technical.
Exactly, that's exactly what he's supposed to be.
Which is akin
He's
to
the mantri. He's the bureaucracy. I mean, there is a differentiation between mantri and amadh in even Arthashastra. The technical roles are called amadh.
Are called amadhya.
Amadh. Amadhya is basically someone who is technically qualified on certain thing. Now it's like this even in a company, in any company that you like. There is a tech guy, there is an engineer. A CTO is not always an engineer. He's a guy who understands how to build an institution of engineers and get it done. The CTO himself might not be a great engineer. That's a totally different skill. Now that skill is what we are seeking at a district level now. And to enable that, you have to give him a free hand, at least at some level of autonomy to him. And that autonomy should be left really to him. Now, if he does a mistake, you have 100 institutions to harass him. That's anyways there.
Yeah, also mistakes should be acceptable,
Yes.
Otherwise people don't take risks.
Now that privilege also should be with the local panchayat. Now today, if there is a mistake, there is a central government investigation, state government investigation, vigilance investigation, 100 investigations. Now if the district says, no problem, you made one mistake, but you got 9 right, it's okay.
Who says that?
If the district level or a panchayat level you say that, please let him go, it's okay. Because if you create this fear, I'll punish you for 1, nobody will ever do 10.
Yeah.
If he gets it, yeah. But generally today, Indian ministers are that way really, really reasonable. They have a large heart, they understand, TK, you got this much right, I've not expected you to do this. It's okay, let this go.
Nice.
I've seen that type of political class too.
Also, the political class is acting like a...
Yes, they are very reasonable in India. I'll be very frank. People keep asking me, is Indian bureaucracy like S-Minister system in America, in UK, sorry, S-Minister in UK. No, S-Minister depicts British politicians as absolutely dumb idiots. Indian politicians are definitely not. They're very highly qualified. They're very skilled. They might sound like jokers to you in public. That's because they want to create an image of that. But as administrators, as a people who understand administration, they do a very good job. You may have to say whatever you want to say about, let's say, Lalu Prasad Yadav ji. He has done pretty good in railways. As a railway minister, he's done pretty good. He understood whose advice he should listen to and what to achieve. Similarly, any other example, you take any politician. I mean, I have genuinely, after serving whatever little I have in Delhi and here, I have great respect for Indian politicians. Because it's really difficult to deal with Indian public. Imagine that. You can't go back and talk to them. It's not easy. And to be an Indian politician is not an easy job. It's the toughest job.
Of course.
I'm telling you, try to meet any minister today, even today, the appointment you'll get would be midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. If he's a good politician, he's totally occupied. So these are the reasons why, I'm very optimistic. I'm very upbeat about India and India's rise. Yes, nothing is perfect. We still have potholes on the road. But I do have hope that they will get sorted. And I'm happy that we at least have a road in the first place, which at least I never thought we'd have. We have a road with potholes, but we still have a road now. And we have a process to figure out that there are potholes and we need to fix them.
We keep talking about corruption all the time, that the entire system is corrupt. That's why we have the potholes, for example. Is it so, or is it... I mean, you sound... I'm just picking on, you gave a metaphorical example of potholes, but literally if we take that, is that because of just a completely broken down, pathetic bureaucracy and political class? Or is it because, I don't know what, it's a system which is looking for slow change?
Not like that. See, now, let me give you an example of how the pothole roads are generally made. I mean, I'm leaving the extreme examples of 100% corruption, but generally what happens? Suddenly November comes. November people realize they have 50 lakh rupees fund extra. Now, there are two choices. Either you return the fund back to the government or you do something else. There is always a road pending, wherever you go.
Okay.
Suddenly one Vidhayak comes and says, why don't you get this road?
Mere gaon ki wahan ki road banwa.
And because he obviously knows that there is a 50 lakh fund pending. Now they call contractors and say, we have a road to be built in 50 lakhs. That fellow look at you like. So they say, okay, I will give you one more road later. No problem. But can you do this? Because no one wants to return the money back. It's considered as not a great thing in any bureaucracy. Okay, then I say, sure, we'll build it. We build it, you propose an RFP. Frankly, as a government, you really don't know how much it costs to build that road.
Okay.
You'll have to ask quotations from vendors, 4 or 5 of them. If they form a cartel, what can you do? You may even know that, oh, this should be done in 40, they're asking 50. If you say that, what's the problem?
Should the government not know this? Should the
They
system
should know
not
it.
know that every road costs this much?
Yes. But honestly, you think about this. Then you need to have a road expert in government. How many days do you have work for him?
That I agree, but there is built-up information. You can use consultants,
exactly.
for example, grade roads.
Now think about it. What if the consultants are hands in glove?
Yeah, okay, but...
You see the point. This is a governance issue. So point is, at the end of the day, government also has to accept that I need to build a transparent way to estimate pricing and fix it.
And
now think about this, building road in Arunachal Pradesh, building road in Delhi,
of course,
building road in Hyderabad. Are they same?
No.
So when you build, see, governance is all about catching these small loopholes and keep expanding. Now with 50 lakh rupees, someone has made a quotation so that they can spend this 50. Now the contractor got the tender. Because it's a competitive bidding, just to Probably he would get it at 38 to 39. Now he is thinking, what did I just do? Because of negotiations and competition
Because he
and all
wanted
that
the
other matter.
contract desperately.
No, because he didn't want to say no to that
No to
minister
that, correct.
or no to that bureaucrat. Because he lives there and they live here and he knows, aaj nahi to kal main karunga. I'll get one more tender from him.
ठीक है.
Let me do it. Now he got it at 38. Now,
Just the
frankly,
cost
he has
was
to put
50.
cost was 60.
60, okay.
He got it only at 30. Now, what do you expect him to do? Well, the first question to ask is, how did you get 50 out? Ideally, everything should be budgeted. So, what we really lack is our ability to estimate the cost of a project. That is our fundamental problem. Second, we also lack the ability to write a contract very clearly. And we are very shy to be willing to take a bet. If some honest fellow comes and tells you, sir, this will cost you 60 lakhs, government will always negotiate down. Now, if you negotiate down, then he is negotiating, obviously, he's a businessman, he's supposed to make a profit, otherwise, how will he live? So, we have to negotiate as a process because we had 3 or 4 examples of where people did not negotiate and others made money. Now, we have a rule that we must compulsorily negotiate.
And this is mindless negotiation.
Exactly. You got the point. No honest businessman can ever do business like that. Now you tell me, what do you get out of this whole process?
How do we...
You have spent 50 lakhs, but you got something that nobody wants. This is exactly same middle class thinking, which is replicated over and over again. You buy cheap stuff thinking you saved 5 rupees less, but it doesn't work for more than 6 months. Then you go and end up buying another one. And you are perpetually unhappy for the next 3-6 month cycles. If you would have bought good stuff for 15 bucks, it would have come for 2 years. This should be tackled in a good GFR reform, General Financial Rules reform. I'm saying, yeah, you've given someone a job, then give him some trust. Give him some trust and give him a long posting. Give him 3-4 years. Na? Why do you transfer him every 1 year? Give him 3-4 years, let him understand, let him figure out who can deliver. Now, if as a contractor, I know that this fellow will be there for 4 years, I don't mind taking a bet. Then I'll be hoping that, Chico, I've done a good job. Next time when they do tender, they will at least tell me so that I can bid. And whatever they can do to help me, they will do.
But fundamentally, the ability to cost a project itself should change so that they know that 50 lakhs mein ye nahi hone wala. So 50 lakhs kahan utilize kare, perhaps there is
exactly.
a better...
And then if you have this process, then you'll have courage to stand up and say, nahi hoga.
Nahi hoga.
Sir, surrender kar dete. Or kuch aur project choose kar lete. Now the politician also has to understand it.
Yes.
If the politician is unreasonable and says, nahi, ye hoga, ye hoga, then what will DC do?
Because you have checks and balances, so DC kahega, theek hai ji. Nahi to transfer
Now
kar do.
DC fully knows this is going to the dogs.
Yes.
Kuch nahi hone wala isme. But what can he do? Now that pain, because of his knowledge, he inflicts upon himself. क्या करेगा वो भी?
So reform कैसे होगा? If this...
If financial estimates, competence, इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि now this ability to cost a project, it has to be done or left to market. We need a different type of market players whose only profession or business is to do this. अभी भी है. आप उसको बोलो project management unit, आप जो भी बोलना है बोलो. But there are people who do this for a living. Now we should have strict regulation and contracts for them. Like if we realize that these fellows have colluded with a vendor to fix this, their license should be cancelled forever, like medicine.
Yeah.
So we have to come up with an Indian answer. We have imported what worked in a colonial world, काम चलाने के लिए type slave for now. But now we have to come up with our own answer. And these new institutions are necessary. Now AI is coming. What should you do with AI? How can anybody price? It's really difficult to price also. But you need, even for the private sector, need people who are willing to take that risks and bet. Chalo, it's okay. Maybe I may not make money today. I'll make sometime later. And I do believe Indian businessmen are reasonably pragmatic. But they don't know how to engage with government because they don't understand how government puts up a project, prices it, and negotiates. None of these three are understood by Indian market. They have no idea why this project is coming, why the scope is like this, why budget is like this. Unless until we bring some sort of transparency on this, you will continue to divert a huge amount of resources of a government, not in driving our economy.
I give a lot of hope, but let me give you a recent example of a conversation I had with a drone company. This founder was telling me that the army comes up with requirements for a drone, which are tech requirements of what it must achieve.
PQs, yeah.
Yeah. Firstly, the understanding of what drones need to achieve has to be perhaps more specific. While sometimes I heard him say that they're far broader. So you want a drone which does a whole lot of things, while you actually want a drone to be precise at one function versus another function, and so on and so forth. But whatever be that as it may, you have a certain spec of a drone. Now the army does not fund, and this is via the bureaucracy, under a no commitment, no
NCNC.
NCNC. Yeah.
No cost, no commitment. Yeah.
Correct. Right. So, but you specify that you guys build it, and I will purchase it 100% upfront payment when it is ready. So you work closely with the army, for example, but by the time the 2 years have passed, the spec changes because the technology is moving forward. All of this loss is being borne by the startups.
You're absolutely right, but I'll explain you what probably that founder got wrong. Now, army is one type of a customer.
Yeah.
Army is not government. Okay, army requirements. Army is a one large customer. There is a different way you deal with them. That doesn't mean all government departments are like that. Now, there are, I would call it, 3 types of products. There are 3 types of products that generally government requires. One, standard COTS products. Commercial off the shelf, you can just buy and sell. No problem there, no specs issued. Correct. Then there is something called as customizations. Like, I want this, but I want this with these 3 changes. Can you do this for me?
Sure.
Clear. Now, third is cutting edge.
Correct.
Cutting edge work is not designed for startups. Especially with army. With not only army, any regulated body.
So the trouble is, in this case particularly, there are no large companies building cutting edge drones.
Yes, but you can partner with them. I'm saying, see, it is your problem. You're not understanding, you're dealing with an elephant. If you go with one small lemon, it will say, this is not even my breakfast. Now I will eat you. It's your choice. You have to align yourself, okay, what am I selling? Whom am I selling to? Now, if the drone company first builds a successful, let's say, agriculture drone business or movie business or some other business, then plays with the army, they will do really well. Second, there is a reason why the army has a process of RFIs. First thing is always an RFI, then comes an RFQ. RFI is request for information. What GFR, even the current GFR, whatever they try to do, puncture, gincher and all that, but then finally, request for information. Army writes to you and asks, my problem is to deliver 20 kgs of meals from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill. And this place is a Siachen. They will never tell you it's Siachen, but you can figure out it's Siachen. The winds are of this speed, climate changes like this, can you do it? Now, if you can do it, how will you do it? Tell me. So you have to describe a solution and then send. Okay, my drone will look like this, cost you this much, let's say 10 crores it cost you. Army will not only receive from you, it will receive from 4 or 5 other vendors. Correct. Then they evaluate all of them and come up with a tender. Then you go and participate. If you participate here, obviously whomever you are meeting, he will tell you, oh, you look very good, but we are still working out. Because by the time they assimilate all these requirements and come to this, some time would definitely lapse. Because this is something that they cannot assimilate just by reading. They have to see the trials, they have to test. And then you tell me that it flies for 50 kilometers. Does it really? Because the difference between me believing and me getting fooled is like people dying.
Yeah, of course.
So you see, by design, if you're dealing with customers like defense, regulatory entities like banks,
you got to have very deep pockets to deal with the army. Exactly. That is simply
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, a student coming in and complaining, I have prepared, I've studied for 8 hours, Of course, I didn't
So
do all
the
this.
startups
I'm
have
not
to
clearing
work
IDJ.
or be subsumed or partner or whatever with some large companies,
Yes.
and that's who can fund them, who can fund this research for a very long period of time. Or perhaps in this case, because this is so cutting edge, perhaps the army needs a little innovation, just like the AI fund and whatever else.
I'm very skeptical about government trying to fund this. I'm very skeptical about this. Because
But the
problem
government is
like I
funding
said,
even AI research,
yeah,
for example.
unfortunately, government is not great at funding anything that changes fast.
But I mean, all the best governments in the world, Singapore and even Middle East, Dubai and others, have a sovereign fund. Now the US is going to have
Now,
a
think
sovereign
about this.
fund.
Where is the sovereign fund? Where is the sovereign fund of Dubai investing? All over the world,
Yes.
not in Dubai.
Oh, no, because that's different.
In fact, what I'm trying to say is, when you are a sovereign fund as a government agency, you give grants to government, grants to colleges to do research. One model. You will never fund private sector R&D. Because when you want a private sector fund private R&D, you have to clearly explain to the parliament what is government getting out of it. Now you think about this, Halvaya, if you are the government, if you are the person who's spending, let's say you spend $10 billion, what is the chance that you may have nothing to show to parliament?
I mean, very high actually.
Exactly. Do you want to do that? And you're a career bureaucrat or even a minister. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, but shouldn't the system be designed for this? Otherwise,
That's what I'm
how
saying.
do you compete with
It's
China
not-
or
because
US?
That's, I agree. That's the private capital. So government venture capital funds or sovereign wealth funds can invest. But government must make it very clear, I may lose this money to parliament.
Correct.
Does our political leadership talk to parliament and say that I'm creating a $1 billion fund? And is there an agreement between all the leadership that yes, this is for the public interest? There is a chance we may lose it.
National
But as a nation, let's make a call on this. Now, this is something that these guys in Middle East achieve very easily.
Yeah,
For
of
us,
course.
we need a little bit
we
more.
have to deal with
we need to
parliamentary.
Yeah. But that's good.
consensus.
That's good too in a way. So that there is an informed debate and continuity for the sector.
Very good conversation. Thank you so much for this. I will end here and perhaps follow it up with, a deeper dive into some of the reforms that you sort of touched upon, if you like. Have you ever written on these? No. Yeah. Okay. So, last question, perhaps. What should be done to actually write a white paper or whatever it is, a series of reform documents, or what needs to change? What sort of structure needs to be put in place?
I think the first thing that we all should definitely focus on is getting these topics into the political manifestos of all the parties.
And this
Because these are national priorities. And the conversations about this must happen in political circles first.
If that happens, the solutions will be found, right?
Because they are the ones who are supposed to drive this.
Yeah.
So the ownership of this problem should be taken up by the political parties. Because they are the ones who have ability to actually change.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Leave your comments. We will be using clips of this in our upcoming film whenever,
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.